Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast review, and today we are covering Fallout 4. Out here, November 10th. This is the fourth game, of course, in the Fallout series. Well, there's also Fallout New Vegas, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of that one. Too brown, and more or less it felt like more of a mod than an actual Fallout game in some senses. So, that's my personal thoughts here. But what is Fallout 4? If you played Fallout 3, you sort of already got sort of the overall details here. Sort of first person, third person role playing game. You're sort of set in some kind of wasteland after a huge nuclear war between the US and China, which leaves pretty much everything devastated. You're a survivor from a vault, in this case Vault 111, on a quest to retrieve his son after he's kidnapped. Details there are further sort of signed off, and you're basically off here into this huge wasteland, of course encountering the world sort of left behind, of course also that way in a sense exploring partly the new world, but also the remnants of a new old world, which is sort of like the 50s, which never really ended. Basically the party just kept on going until everybody got a real big nuclear hangover, which they never really recovered from. So in terms of the game, what does that sort of really give us? I mean, they've added a bunch of new things from Fallout 3. For example, now you can sort of, manage settlements, you can build stuff, you can scrap stuff. I mean, that's pretty neat. It's not one of the bigger things, but it does add a bit to the game. I suppose it does give a bit more to do. I mean, you can argue it seems a bit odd, but I suppose if you sort of want to really rebuild in the wasteland, this gives you sort of the experience, you can give you resources, you can get your help, and so on. I mean, it's kind of neat. You can build all sorts of things, even if you sort of build your character. You can sort of set up stores, which can then give you more stuff, money, and basically cheaper places to buy from. So, I mean, it does add a bit more fun to the game that way. You got guns. You can modify these guns, by the way. You got a whole slew of sort of modification you can do, and of course you've also got the classical power armor, which has now also been able to sort of just modify, get fusion cores to sort of power it, meaning power armors, at least for a bit of the game, are sort of a bit more cautiously used. You don't just use them at whatever you can, because you'll run out of power and then you'll be stuck with a power armor somewhere out in the bloody waste and you're without it. So you have to be a bit more cautious with it. But again, modification is sort of one of the bigger things here, I suppose, of the game now. You can sort of add whole receivers, barrels, grips, magazines, sights. You can modify the muscle. On armor you can sort of do all kinds of upgrades as well, which can, for example, allow you to sort of carry more stuff. And of course you can also scrap them, and that's also rather important for then making new weapons, or but not new weapons, but basically modifying the ones you got, because you'll need spare parts and then sort of look up for them. So it's a slight little game in itself, and it's actually quite fun. It's actually one of the things I sort of find myself really enjoying in Fallout 4, just modifying my weapons. Though of course if you don't want to, I mean, you'll find randomly sort of prepared weapons out there, and occasionally you just find one that's like, good lord, this is really good, I think I'll keep this one, rather than selling it, or for example giving it to settlers to defend the settlements with, if that's also what you're sort of playing into. So again, there's a lot there just in sort of the details there. The world is sort of, it looks quite nice for a Fallout game, and again for that matter for a Bethesda game, I think it looks quite nice. Animation's been improved, overall gunplay feels better, enemies take cover, so overall combat has been improved, and even some enemies you can actually now blow the legs off, sort of hinder them in movement. So there's a bit more tactics to it, a bit more sort of proper gameplay to it. That, that's a good thumbs up there from me. And if the world, as always, is just sort of fun to explore, and that's really one of the things I sort of really was looking forward to the most in Fallout, exploring. Just sort of going through this wasteland, as we've just gone through. I mean, in Fallout 3, I spent tens of hours on it, just sort of exploring, looking through, investigating. I just had so much fun with it, and again, I just couldn't do the same with New Vegas, by the way. It's also probably the only really open world game I can do that's in. Skyrim just didn't catch me as much as Fallout 3 did, and certainly as Fallout 4 has. And similarly with, for example, I mean, say Witcher 3, which is also pretty good, but ultimately I just sort of felt like, yeah. So I mean, that sense again, I mean, that's all for me, yeah, glowing recommendation for Fallout 4. I mean, really, it's a fun game. Story-wise, again, you're sort of off there, you encounter several factions, you can do quests with them, and it also leads to several different paths where you sort of just, I mean, basically you can choose to end up with the bad guys, if you will, of course in quotation marks, of course, good, evil, all a bit more relative and so on. So I mean, that's also pretty much fun. Again, it does give you options, it does sort of feel like, again, well, one of the things I also want for sort of, a bigger part of Fallout, which was always, choice, back then Fallout 1 and 2 as well, which is also games I really enjoy. So in that sense, it really does give the player a lot sort of to do with, a lot to play with. Again, you can sort of focus on the quest, and I should note, by the way, it took me about 25 hours. And of course, I did take some sort of different paths there to sort of play around with. If I can just bloody well hit this thing, of course, got VATS here, which is now sort of more of a slow motion thing. You also got crit here, so it's no longer a random chance. It's something you actually actively build up and then sort of just decide to execute it. It does feel a bit wonky for me there, to be honest. Other things that sort of change in greater senses is basically, leveling up. You now, for example, get perks for everything, rather than just, every few levels. Stats also something you can sort of more actively boost, so that does mean more sense. You can also basically, for example, dump 10 into one right away, and then actually get all the bottom ones here. Because rather, how they want to limit them is actually, they have level caps. So for example, you might say upgrade one right away, but then you have to wait to like level 23. And another thing, there's overall no level cap, so you can just keep leveling up for all eternity, though of course you might not quite get any benefit for it. So that's rather an interesting thing there. It does give actually a lot of options as to how to play the game. I mean, you want, for example, one who can immediately intimidate someone and just, go through your fights like that. You can do so if you really want to. There's a lot of options there in that sense, and again, choice in that sense has actually been further brought forwards, but not necessarily in a way that sort of, cheapens the game or ends up making it feel like a gimmick, if you will. So that does add a lot more armor. That's also been made a bit more nice. Sort of got pieces. You got arm, leg, chest, and so on. Then you can sort of wear bits under it. You can just go for outfits and sort of cover up that way. So that does add a bit more to the game in those senses, if you will. Of course, you also got companions. You got a nice little dog there. You get robots. You get all sorts of characters there sort of throughout the game. They can do different things for you, and they can also interact on the quest line in different ways. So that also, again, gives you a little bit more to work with there. And overall, it's just fun. It's just fun. I found myself just wasting hour after hour looking forward to just playing some Fallout 4 when I'm not busy casting or streaming, just going, yes, I can play some Fallout 4 now and have some jolly, rotten good fun. Huzzah for me, because that's good. So in that sense, overall, again, pretty good. It adds a lot to the game. It gives you lots of options story-wise. It's pretty decent. I'm not going to proclaim it's the best thing ever, but it does the job pretty well. And again, it gives you options. It gives you sort of lots of paths you can take, which is always something I find commendable. And again, really needs to be there for a Fallout game. It also goes in different places depending on the factions you choose, and sort of will work with if you want to go for that. And again, there's a lot of replay value for this, and again, I'd easily imagine at least 100 hours in this game if you sort of really want to play it through and through again. And of course, there's also DLC coming down the road with a season pass. No idea about that. I'll probably do some reviews on that down the road if there's interest in that. But overall, it's a pretty good game with a lot of good thought to it, a lot of good design. Bugs? Yes, there are bugs. Nothing game breaking, but mostly it's sort of like visual. For example, the screen would be off kilter or bloody weird that way, which forced me to restart. But beyond that, I actually encountered a lot of bugs. That of course might just be me. Loading times, bunch there, but nothing really hugely infuriating. It's not, say, Rome 2 bad. It's just, there. And of course, if I'd installed it on my SSD hard drive, I probably could have it even faster, but I wasn't quite sure if I had enough space there, so, yeah. But overall, pretty good game, pretty fun. Lots of fun to do. If you really just like to sort of go into a world, explore it, shoot stuff up, create your own community, which you now can do, join a Brotherhood of Steel, join up with someone else in the process, do whatever you want. I mean, this is the game for you. Again, it's not going to, in terms of shooting, compete with an FPS, but it does the job pretty well. And again, there are a lot of options. Overall, yes, I can very, very much recommend this game. A lot. Again, I might be a bit biased there. Again, I love Fallout 3, not so much New Vegas, and I'm loving Fallout 4. I should also note I love Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Just in case someone was bringing my credentials there into a bit of question. So, I think that rather sort of covers it here with the Fallout 4 review. Hopefully this has sort of enlightened you a bit and given you some more ideas if you want this game or not. I might also do some more videos sort of covering basic starter tips for those curious. If there is, I will definitely do that. Perhaps some more videos down the road. So anyways, thank you all there for joining in. Subscribe if you like the videos, share it with everyone, and of course overall I hope this has been helpful for you. So thank you all, and hope to see you all another time. Bye.